For 7 long years, ambulance union members have been waging a battle to have two-man crews in each vehicle. They claimed a shortage of officers led to a drop in the standard of patient care.
It's compromised the patients, yes, there's no denying that. And not the actual fact that it's been the cause of the deaths, but it's contributed to those causes, yes.
With the threat of further industrial action, Health Minister Dr Andrew Revsholgi has announced a $5.1 million package to increase the number of ambulance officers in the state.
More than 120 new ambulance officers will be recruited.
While the union says the numbers will not overcome the shortage in Sydney, the Hunter has been fairly treated. 47 additional officers will be appointed to stations bounded by Cessnock, Raymond Terrace, Nelson Bay and Doyleson.
We should be able to eliminate the procedures of relatives driving vehicles, police officers, where we'll have 2 qualified ambulance officers on those vehicles delivering the care that the patients need.
Some of the new officers will be in place in 6 weeks, but it will be 12 months before all 47 are in the area. Amanda Bolger, NBN News.
No one is sure just why the accident happened. The driver of a 4-tonne truck had stopped on the side of a notorious section of Lenigan's Drive near Minmai to change a tyre. He was halfway through when a twin-cab light truck smashed into the back of his truck, just metres from where he was standing. The driver of the twin cab, a 20-year-old Wyong man, and front passenger, a 30-year-old man from Budgewoi, were killed instantly. 3 others in the back of the truck were seriously injured. A 25-year-old Wyong man suffered head and spinal injuries, along with multiple fractures. He was trapped for more than an hour before being flown by rescue helicopter to John Hunter Hospital, later being transferred to Sydney's Royal North Shore Hospital. 2 other men, both aged 20, also from Wyong, were taken to John Hunter Hospital, the first suffering abdominal injuries, the second with a fractured foot and ankle. Amazingly, the man who'd been changing the truck's tyre escaped serious injury. He's in Maitland Hospital in a stable condition. The crash caused huge traffic delays as the F3 was closed for nearly 4 hours. The accident brings to 6 the number of people who've died on that stretch of road in as many months. In April, 4 people were killed when a bus and a car collided. Meanwhile, extensions to the F3, which will see freeway traffic diverted off Lenigan's Drive, continue to face delays following the discovery of Aboriginal artefacts in the area. Local residents, upset at the continuing carnage, say it's time something was done to prevent any more deaths.
The fact that the road's not going to be complete until 1999, it leaves a lot of time between now and then for many more of these accidents, and we're terribly concerned, very distressed about it as a community actually.
Emma Siosian, NBN News.
This afternoon, the Procter & Gamble plant near Wyong was deserted. At noon, staff were told the plant would be closed by the end of March. All were given the afternoon off. In pulling out of its Berkeley Vale operations, Procter & Gamble has dealt a blow to employment and local business in the Central Coast. But management is adamant staff will be looked after.
We've got about 6 to 9 months before people leave us, and we want to help them find new employment out there.
Next month, Procter & Gamble will begin a career counselling and retraining program for staff. Some will be offered positions in Parramatta or Asia.
We have a really good staff. We've got a multi-skilled group of people here. They're well trained, and we're really confident that we'll be able to help them find employment.
Production will be transferred to local contractors and overseas Procter & Gamble sites. According to the company, the decision to close the plant is part of a manufacturing consolidation program. Operations resume tomorrow. Staff will not be required to leave until January. Sarah Griffiths, NBN News.
Newcastle University has spent $3 million over the past few months converting the campus to help reduce traffic congestion and encourage the greater use of public transport.
And the first step was to modify our road system to allow Newcastle buses to bring their bus services right into the campus to 2 bus interchanges that are actually located on the campus.
A new series of on-site roads has been built to help accommodate the buses, along with the extension of the university cycleway. A security shuttle bus has also been introduced to help transport students around the campus and to the nearby Warrabrook railway station. Even though it's still difficult for many students to get to the university using public transport, the university hopes the changes will encourage more students to leave their cars at home. Hefty parking fines have also been introduced to act as a further deterrent. The long-term aim is to overcome a severe shortage of parking while also improving the environment through reduced car emissions. The university's environmental initiatives may be used as a model for the Clean Air 2000 project, a scheme designed to improve air quality and reduce car emissions in the Newcastle, Sydney and Wollongong areas. Newcastle Council, involved in the Clean Air 2000 scheme, is now looking at work done by the university to see how it can be implemented throughout the city. Emma Theossian, NBN News. The extra money comes at a time when the university is preparing itself for some major budget cuts and will go a long way towards improving its communication facilities. The $300,000 will be combined with $400,000 already put aside by the university to fund the establishment of a microwave link from Newcastle University to the major Sydney universities. While opening up a range of new information, it will also speed up the university's access to the internet.
We use the internet a lot, and this will increase the availability of the internet to our students. At the moment we have to restrict it because of time availability and the speed of the line we've got. It will allow our researchers to interact with their counterparts in Sydney, particularly in a supercomputing environment.
It will also enable the university to set up an interactive video conferencing system between the Newcastle and Central Coast Ourimbah campus.
So that in principle we can run a lecture on this site, for example, or on the Ourimbah site, and the students can be on both sites asking questions of the lecturer.
Thousands of senior school students from throughout the Hunter took an important excursion to Newcastle City Hall today to look through the Careers Expo. Most major universities and colleges had a display set up with a range of career advisors also on hand to offer some guidance. And while many still aren't sure what they want to do when they leave school, most seem to agree the day provided some worthwhile advice.
Gain knowledge of what the universities have to offer, how much the courses are, and if I need a TER, what the TER is.
Yeah, well, I found it very interesting. I want to go into an accountancy course, and I needed to find out about scholarships and accommodation, things like that.
I did find one particular place I'd like to go, so it was helpful.
As the giant fiberglass hulls take shape in the ADI plant, it becomes easier for the casual observer to picture the Huon-class mine hunters fulfilling their military role. But the ships are almost a secondary priority for the computer engineers who've been given the task of making the mine hunters smart.
The mine hunter itself, the combat system as we call it, which is the sonar system and the integrated tactical data system, is the heart of the capability, and the ship itself is a protective platform to float that capability to into the minefields.
The combat system arrives in a couple of months, but vital radar, data distribution and radio positioning gear is already in Newcastle undergoing thorough testing. When all of the computer systems are here, they'll be put through their paces in a simulated Minehunter operations room, a dry run before the gear goes aboard.
The Minehunter is a full 1990s technology, and it will be the most sophisticated surface ship for its size in the world once complete.
Once the equipment checks out, the simulation room will be used to train the Australian sailors who'll crew the Minehunters.
The Canadians stunned the Waratahs with their early intensity. The Blues were reeling after 5 minutes, with Canada on their line. Solid defence kept them out, and it was former Newcastle University halfback Anthony Eckert who came back to grab the first try. New South Wales kept pouring on the points. Player of the match Alastair Murdoch, dropped from the Aussie team, gave the selectors a reminder of his talents with the first of 3 tries. While the Blues were winning the war, they were losing the battle. 3 players taken off after heavy knocks, and the pressure was starting to show. The tourists weren't about to give up, fighting back to 25-12, but a controversial penalty try broke their spirit. That man Murdoch again in the action. New South Wales ran away with the game 44-19, but the Canadians' reputation as a rugby nation is growing every game. Peter Ryan, NBN News. A crisis meeting in Newcastle today as Skillshare managers thrashed out ways to survive the cutbacks. The Hunter Northern budget was to be cut by 1/3 for the September quarter, but a backflip by the Minister for Employment and Training, Amanda Vanstone, will result in a 20% reduction.
It's going to have diabolical effects on Skillshare programs, specifically, although not only, rural small projects, because they'll close. They can't possibly continue.
The Hunter Northern Skillshares train nearly 10,000 unemployed people from Coffs Harbour to Gosford. But it's claimed the whole operation is now in jeopardy, leaving a huge training black hole in an area already severely affected by high unemployment.
The government's saying, hang on, just hang on, this is a holding pattern until the budget. But if the cuts are so deep they can't survive, the budget's worthless to us.
Skillshare workers also fear they could be joining the dole queues they've been teaching others to avoid. Some have already lost their jobs, and it's feared more will go if the budget isn't increased by next Friday's deadline. The long-term outlook is even more pessimistic, with the department warning that funds for a project in this budget won't guarantee financial support in the next one. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Traditional council structures and practices are being re-examined. Instead of sitting in what some perceive to be ivory towers, council officers are being brought down to the front counter to deal directly with ratepayers.
We've opened up a one-stop customer service centre so that when people come to the council, they no longer have to go upstairs and downstairs to all of these traditional departments.
According to Maitland City Council's General Manager Rhonda Bignell, it's time for change, the foundations for which were laid 12 months ago. Rhonda Bignell insists that it's not just a cost-cutting drive and that staff contracts will be honoured, even though some duties will change.
There is a security there for our staff. What it does mean though is that we might have to look at some of the ways that we provide services, and maybe some jobs may have to change or be redesigned, and we're anticipating that that should happen, but we have a very definite policy of no forced redundancies.
Responding to calls from residents at North Belmont that shots were being fired, the first police on the scene called in backup. As many as 6 shots were fired from positions close to where police, with their own weapons drawn, were combing dense bush and swampland.
There's 4 youths, and we have one, a young adult male, in custody, and we believe that we will know who the other 3 are in time.
Police closed in on the group, flushing out one young man who fled into the path of a second search party. He told police he'd dropped a .22 calibre rifle in the swamp, but police were taking no chances on whether others in the group were armed.
We had 3 .22 rifle, low calibre rifles, stolen with 600 rounds of .22 ammunition from an area at Belmont North during the night.
The guns were taken from the vehicle of a licensed shooter. He'd packed the vehicle ready to depart for a hunting trip today. After exhausting searches of the bush, the operation was scaled down and the young man taken away for questioning. As yet, the missing guns and ammunition have not been found.
Sidestepping and leg lifting could be something new to the elderly, but on the Central Coast, this is just what they are doing. With a large number of falls attributed to poor muscle control, the Area Health Service introduced an over 50s active program to promote fitness in the greying generation.
1 in 3 people over the age of 65 can expect to have a fall, at least one fall within the next 12 months. So we're actually trying to reduce that figure.
The aim is to reduce the number of older people who injure themselves in a fall.
One of the main reasons people fall is because their muscles become weaker, they have less flexibility, and by attending regular fitness classes they can actually improve on these.
Gentle exercise classes are held 3 times a week, and what participants may be lacking in youthful flexibility, they make up with enthusiasm.
Every muscle is used in this gentle exercise without having to do what the younger people do.
The search is on for a new Defence Force co-related headquarters, home to senior officers from all 3 services. The Newcastle Regional Chamber of Commerce has dispatched its own task force to the job of making this area appear more attractive than the alternatives such as Canberra, Sydney or the South Coast.
I think it's a big possibility, yes. I think with the ADI setting up here and the recognition of the harbour of Newcastle being used more frequently for programs of restoration and repairs and whatever, some of the Navy ships or whatever, I think we've got a very strong supportive issue, and I know the politicians of the area are very supportive behind it too.
Newcastle hopes to capitalise on the military infrastructure already in place here, including the mine hunters and the Joint Warfare Centre at Williamtown RAAF base. But the biggest pulling power may come from the lifestyle this area offers senior military personnel.
If you look at the people who come here from the RAAF base and use the regional area, any of them you speak to are quite desirous to stay and really not accept transfers, and you do find a lot of them remain here as residents. So I think the lifestyle on Hunter has got a lot to offer, a lot of offers and opportunities for those people.
From across Australia and overseas, more than 400 athletes were sent off in the National Half Marathon, a 21.2 kilometre run around the banks of Lake Macquarie. It didn't take long for the field to spread, setting the early pace in the men's division, David Evans, while in the women's, the Victorian combination of Marianne Murray and Susan Mickelson led the charge. Behind some serious challenges, some not so serious. While for others the challenge of beating their personal best was the motivation. Strong showings from the international contingent, Japan's 8 runners were never far off, while Ethiopia was also well represented. Hugging the lakeside, David Evans slipped away from the pack. In his first national half marathon, the Sydney-sider took control, finishing the gruelling event in 64.18, 65 seconds shy of the race record.
I felt great early. The first 10k I was really cruising. Felt fantastic. I think I was fresh and there was a bit of a tailwind behind us.
The big mover in the women's race was number 5 Heather Thurland. The mother of 4 overhauled her rivals to take the honours, her second half-marathon victory.
I try not to go out too fast. I find, I'm more a long-distance runner, so if I take it easy in the first half, I'm usually strong in the second half.
The controversial long-term proposal by Wyong Council is to extend the existing runway and build terminal facilities to make Warnervale Airport one of the best in regional New South Wales. But not everyone favours the ambitious development.
Residents' concerns are that they haven't been consulted. We're not sure what we're going to get if this development proceeded as the council had proposed.
Mr Crittenden took the noise and environmental concerns to Parliament, where a private member's bill was passed in the lower house to limit the redevelopment. Wyong Council slammed the local member, saying upgrading the airport would have created hundreds of jobs as well as boost tourism on the Central Coast. However, Mr Crittenden has hit back at the council. He says that while residents aren't opposed to the entire upgrading, they won't accept their lifestyle being compromised.
The quality of life for people in the area is a major concern. There's residential estates all around this area, including the new Warnervale estates. This whole approach of the council has created uncertainty in the area. Developers are uncertain, financial institutions are uncertain, and we need to bring some certainty into people's lives.
Amanda Bolger, NBN News.
The match against St George signalled the start of a tough draw for the Knights. After their disappointing loss to the Cowboys in round 11, Newcastle bounced back to win 23 points to 12, the victory bringing back the smile of coach Malcolm Reilly.
We got the part of the game right that I feel we've got to get right week in, week out, and that's the fundamentals, the basics.
More good news for Newcastle today. All players will be fit for Sunday's away game against the Bulldogs. For one night, Saturday's match was more than 2 competition points. It was the 100th game for last season's Players player, Paul Marquette.
To tell you the truth, I never thought about it, and I didn't know about it until about 15 minutes before they gave me an award.
Marquette's reception from the 21,000-strong home crowd said it all. Tributes today also from the club.
Yeah, I'm pleased he's reached that milestone. I'm pretty sure he'll go further too.
Everyone looks up to him the way he trains and handles himself, and he's a great bloke.
Doing what he loves best, the 26-year-old forward spent a session in the gym getting in shape for the next 100.
I won't be around that long.
Jonathan Upton, NBN News. Prince Cariana paid $9 and $2.70, Mr Inquisitive second at $2.70, and number 6 Rivmer was third at $4.40, the Quinella $32.70, and the Trifecta $598.20. West to Corindi and race 7, the Willow Tree Cup, was the feature race on the card. Bonfiglio paid $4.70 and $1.90. The same place dividend for Cossack Raider. She Grand ran third at $3.10. The Quinella $10.70 and the Trifecta $126.50.
As the work goes ahead mining the sandbeds at Tomago, environmentalists say the immediate koala population is being decimated.
We believe that hundreds of animals are dying every year.
18-month-old Tui is one of the lucky ones. He was saved from a felled tree on the mining site in January this year. Carers have nursed him for 6 months.
He had body tenderness, as though he had been bruised in some way. He was a pretty sick boy and he couldn't see at all. He was quite blind temporarily from the conjunctivitis.
Tui was released back into the wild today, just 300 metres west of the mining operations. Tagged with a radio transmitter, he'll be monitored by koala carers to make sure he's adjusting back into the natural environment. If Tui can reacclimatise to the bush here, it's only an interim stay. Mining is planned for this area in about 12 months' time. Mining company RZM has denied any koalas have died due to their operations, saying it is complying with strict government guidelines. The company, which employs more than 120 people, is back in the Land and Environment Court next month. Environmentalists trying to stop the operation. Peter Ryan, NBN News. For yacht and boat owners, the completion of dredging work at the drop over at Marks Point and the channel at James Marina is peace of mind, for the time being anyway.
We're not sure exactly how long the hole is going to stay there. Hopefully Mother Nature will leave the hole there for us for this coming summer.
Siltation in the lake has been a serious problem, with hundreds of vessels unable to get through the shallow channels.
We believe that the number of boats coming into the lake has been down probably in the range of 30 to 40% over last Easter, last Christmas, and of course that all translates into tourist dollars that aren't coming in and aren't being spent in Lake Macquarie.
Most people on the lake regard the $80,000 of dredging work as just band-aid treatment. It's estimated the complete job would cost up to $20 million. Council has consultants looking into what should be done, but future work may need state government funding. Peter Ryan, NBN News. This is the master plan for cycleways in Newcastle and Lake Macquarie. 12 months in the making, it's an update on a groundbreaking plan from 15 years ago.
In 1981, we were privileged to be one of the first places in Australia to develop a bike plan. It's now time to review that.
Council consultants have looked to the future needs of cyclists, including a move to make it compulsory for new office buildings to include secure parking for push bikes. More than $9 million of cycleway work is suggested, including plans to put a track through Blackbutt Reserve. But the total job could take 15 years to implement.
In the current year, the council looks like it will be able to spend about $250,000, and our priority at this stage is the university's eastern access.
Council votes on the plan tonight. Meanwhile, Lake Macquarie Council workers are continuing the delicate job of the cycleway at Warners Bay. The new track runs right along the water's edge. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
The Knights physiotherapists were hard at work today. Adam Muir, the real concern, he spent most of the day trying to come to grips with a knee injury. The knockout came during the first half of yesterday's clash with the Bulldogs, Canterbury prop Robert Tocker accidentally colliding with Muir's left knee.
Just felt pretty weird and like real sore at the back of my knee, so there's no use risking it, so I just come off.
Test results tomorrow will confirm the extent of the injury. Next door, Andrew Johns was also in the wars with his knee.
I woke up this morning, I was aching a bit and just sort of locked up, so I don't really know. I have probably a few tests, a bit of physio.
Despite the scare, he's confident of playing Canberra this Friday. But no one's place is assured for this weekend's game. After the team's disappointing performance yesterday, Malcolm Reilly has hinted some players will be dropped.
Yeah, I think there will be too, yeah.
Unforced errors marred the Knights' trip to Belmore. Reilly says he'll opt for form.
You know, the guys who just really aren't putting the effort in and focusing in on their responsibilities are obviously going to suffer.
The team to play Canberra will be named tomorrow. Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
Love it or hate it, Sydney's gay and lesbian Mardi Gras has become a global event. This year's cavalcade beamed to an international TV audience. The Hunters gay community has enjoyed the exposure and will be even more prominent next year, having just been granted $2,500 in Newcastle Bicentenary funding to build a special float for the 1997 parade.
We don't aim to be controversial in any way. This will promote the hunter and the unity of the hunter and the diversity of the hunter, and it's going to promote it in 17 different countries around the world.
The gay float will also run in Newcastle's Matara Parade. It's the most contentious handout in 50 bicentenary grants announced today. A range of community organisations now better able to stage cultural, arts and sports events to mark the city's 200th birthday.
What I think people will find so reassuring, I guess, about the community grants is that this money is staying in Newcastle. It's being spent by local people, and this is only a fraction of the local involvement in next year, of course.
The Bicentenary Community Print Project is one of today's big winners. Using ordinary people, not artists, to prepare 200 commemorative prints, it's been granted $16,000.
We can do just so much with that, and we can go into the community and enable us to have everybody in Newcastle as a part of the Bicentenary if they want to be.